everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I'm your host, Lori La Bey, and I'm so excited that you're joining us today. We are going to have a fascinating conversation as usual as we learn from people all around the world at all ages and stages of life. Stay tuned as we shift our dementia care from crisis to comfort.
Here we go. What you think about, you will bring about dementia change. We will.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer Speaks. I'm your host, Lori La Bey, and I'm thrilled you can join us today. Today is our once a month open mic, so we never know who's going to show up, but we always have an interesting conversation. And what people share here, it might be their own story, being diagnosed with dementia or caring for somebody. It might be someone who's written a book or has a business or a product or tool. Maybe they have a support group. Maybe they have a blog or a Facebook group. Anything and everything is welcome here. We've had researchers. We have had advocates. So if you have a story to tell, make sure you plug into us once a month for our open mic. We'd love to hear what you're doing and how you're making a difference. So before I peek behind the curtain and see who's here, I always like to give a couple of shout outs. And first and foremost, I always have to direct people back to alzheimerspeaks.com. We have a ton of free educational resources there, and I don't want you to miss those. If you are living with the disease, caring for somebody, or a professional, please feel free to go to the website and take advantage of those resources. They are there for you for that reason. Let's make everyone's life easier and work together. You can also go to dementiamap.com, which is our global resource directory. It's free to access. We won't ask you for any personal information. And if you have a service, product, or tool that you would like inputted, just reach out to me at Lori@alzheimerspeaks.com or radio@alzheimerspeaks.com, and I can help you with anything concerning Alzheimer Speaks or Dementia Map. I also want to mention a company that I am just thrilled to be working with. They are absolutely fantastic. Twiddle is a company who has developed sensory aids, and they also have a clothing line product called Adapter Wrap. Both of these are products that can be used for a variety of ages. They're ideal for dementia, but they work with autism. They work with my granddaughter, loves them as well because they're sensory oriented. So check them out. You can actually get a 25% discount if you go to their website, which is the number 4, and then Twiddles, plural, TWIDDLES.com, and then go ahead and use the discount code capital AS25. That's capital AS25 for a discount code. And you will find their products very simple. They're washable, but they really help calm people down and connect them and make for us all to be better caregivers and making life easier for them as care recipients. So with no further ado, let's go ahead and see who's behind the curtain waiting to tell us what they're up to. Well, we've got quite the group for you here today, so I am really excited to have this conversation. I love doing open mics. I think it's just a wonderful way to learn so much about so many people. And, just in an open, authentic flow. So before we dive into each individual, I'm going to have them introduce themselves briefly, and then we'll click through one at a time and go from there. So Denise, if you don't mind introducing yourself.
No, not at all. Hello, everyone. My name is Denise Calhoun, and I am the author of Changing Seasons, a language arts curriculum for healthy aging. I am also the president of Calhoun Communications, a consulting organization, and I am the founder of a nonprofit, Communicare, which is an intergenerational organization to help older adults.
Wonderful. I can't wait to hear more about what you're doing. Marilyn, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I am the director of Maude's Awards for Innovation in Alzheimer's Care, and I'm also now a first-time author of a book called Don't Walk Away, A Care Partner's Journey.
Thank you. And Ken, you want to introduce yourself, please?
Sure. Great to see you all. My name's Ken Whelan. My brother and I were kind of part of what they call the sandwich generation and caring for our mother who battled early onset dementia. It hit her when she was 63 years old. And it's so nice to see you all and happy to be part of the conversation today.
Great. Thank you. And Teresa, you want to introduce yourself, please?
Hello, everyone. I'm Teresa Carter. I am a national certified dementia practitioner. I've been blessed to be an executive director in assisted living with a memory unit for about 25 years. And I just have a huge love for helping families deal with Alzheimer's and helping Alzheimer victims to feel respected and their dignity preserved. And I just think the more we can educate folks that are caring for these loved ones, the better off everybody is.
Okay, great. Well, Denise, I'm going to go back to you and let's dive into what all you're doing. You have quite the hand of cards there that you're playing with. So tell us a little bit more about what you're doing and how you got into it.
Okay, I'll just start with one thing. I would like to, first of all, I want to thank you for, allowing me to come here and present. Anyway, I'm a recent member of Dementia Maps, and I would like to thank everyone for the opportunity to share my story and to talk about my book, Changing Seasons, A Language Arts Curriculum for Healthy Aging. Now, as a caregiver for my mom, I was inspired to develop this curriculum from communication issues that I was witnessing between my mom and the staff where she was residing. So as a longtime educator, what I really wanted to do was to apply what I knew about teaching children to create a curriculum that would increase engagement as well as quality interactions for older adults. The curriculum, of course, is a language-based curriculum, and it's filled with lots of tips, strategies, and challenging lessons, as well as fun and engaging activities to assist healthcare providers in communicating more effectively with older residents. So initially, the book was divided into two major sections: oral language, which consisted of listening and speaking activities, and written language, which included different styles of writing such as narrative, persuasive, folklore, and poetry. Now, the structure of the book is like many other instructional materials, beginning with outlining the program goals, strategies for implementation, as well as tips for facilitators. I wanted it to be self-contained where you would have everything at your fingertips. So it has appendices with questionnaires, graphic organizers, sample daily and weekly lesson plans, a glossary, and lots of resources. Now, since it is an interdisciplinary program, I also wanted to include seasonal and abstract art ideas, as well as fun cooking activities consisting of simple recipes to follow that are tasty as well as easy to make and can be eaten on the spot. The reason why I say eaten on the spot is because I remember when my mom had participated in a cooking activity at the assisted living where she resided, and the facilitator mostly led it. And the participants maybe got a chance to crack an egg or two, or maybe stir the batter a couple of times. And so when I went back to check on my mom to see how she enjoyed the cookies, she says they burnt. And she was disappointed, and I was really disappointed because you don't know how much coaxing I had to do to get her to even participate, because she was immobile and she didn't even want to get out of bed. So that was really very disappointing to me. And I believe in immediate gratification when I do things. Anyway, moving forward, because of the restrictions that occurred during the pandemic, I felt the need to write a second edition which addressed social isolation. This edition included a third chapter on technology, which focused on video conferencing platforms like Zoom and Google Meet to help older adults remain connected to family and friends, and especially to be connected to society. So the chapter is actually the outcome of a pilot program that my partner, Sun Lee, and I conducted in an assisted living and memory care community in Woodland Hills, California. It also resulted in the launching of our nonprofit organization, Communicare. So to give others a chance to conclude and to provide you with just a little insight on what Communicare is about, I can go back to it later. I would just like to read our mission statement so you can get an idea. And Communicare strives to advance the quality of life and a sense of purpose for older adults by providing opportunities for lifelong learning and meaningful social interactions across generations through the use of innovative technologies. And keeping this in mind, as you can see, we are an intergenerational nonprofit organization that I am very excited about continuing the workshop that we have been doing.
You know what I find fascinating is you started out with one thing and then it kind of led to another thing that led to another thing. And to me, that's one of the most beautiful things about dementia. Most people go, beautiful things about dementia. You got to be kidding me. But there's so much for us to learn and so much for us to share with other people on how we can care better. And you've really so succinctly and nicely and yet passionately told us, the whys behind what you're doing. And I find it incredible when you mentioned even about the cooking and then the cookies got burnt, and that immediate gratification is so important and so often overlooked in terms of how important that is to somebody, because they don't understand the linear time frame that, we're going to have them later or we're not having them at all because they burned. We mixed and we did all those things. So thank you for sharing. One thing I do want you to just plug is your website and how people would get a hold of you right now, if you don't mind.
Okay, yeah. For Calhoun Communications, that's more of a consulting where I do presentations nationally on how to communicate more effectively with older adults and non-pharmaceutical interventions and things like that. And the website for that is calhouncommunications.net.
Okay.
And for the nonprofit organization that we are working on is it's called Communicare Connections.org.
Okay.
I actually, when my mom was in this assisted living, because she passed a few years, like 10 years ago almost, I was working with one of the residents there. He was the president of the organization, of that particular community. And he was loving what I had done. And that's another story too, and how I got started with this, because I'm a long-time educator. So, he wanted to do business with me, and I had created a brochure on, communication tips for, assisted living communities and nursing homes. And he wanted to go into business. And so we were just tossing it around. And then I came up with, I said, oh, what about Communicare? And then he said, oh, yeah. And then we thought about connecting, and we thought connections. But then someone had that particular name. You wouldn't believe how many people have it. But we were fortunate to get it for our nonprofit organization. And that's how the name came about.
Oh, wonderful. And then for your book, do they go to your website or Amazon? What's the best route?
Oh, well, yeah, it's on Amazon. And if they, you can go directly to the publisher. The publisher is Purdue University Press. And if you go directly to the publisher, they'll give you a 30% discount if you type in Purdue 30.
Thank you so much. Marilyn, you want to tell us what you are interested in sharing today?
Yeah, I'm going to start with Mom and the book, because I was raised in a family where everybody got Alzheimer's. So everybody on my father's side, when they hit 80, they all developed Alzheimer's, and some in Mom's. So Mother told us, and the book has this title called Don't Walk Away. And somebody asked me, why did you call it that? And it's because that's what Mother told us to do. She said, when we get Alzheimer's, we're not going to remember you. So go live your lives and don't waste them for us. And I want you to walk away. And there are 5 of us in my family, 5 kids, and we all believed her. And that all changed when Mother began to paint. Dad had died. She was really bored, so we took her to an elderwise painting class, and she thought painting was a stupid idea. But we didn't expect much. And her paintings were amazing, just astonished us. And it didn't really astonish her because she claimed that she had no memory of it. I don't know if she did, but that was her story for the next 9 years. And so the art completely drew me in past any fear I had about the disease. And it completely made me rethink everything I thought I knew. And so here was this incredible woman who had definitely something to say, who was living with wit and invention. And so for the next 7 years, I became her care partner. And it was the most rewarding thing I have ever done in my life. And it was astonishing. And so my hope for this book is that for people at the beginning of their journey, that this offers, who might feel, as I once did, only dread, not knowing what to do, not knowing what to expect, asking, now what? My hope is that this book will supply answers and joy and laughter. And for those well into the journey, I also want to offer recognition and respite and laughter, and always hope, knowing that our loved ones are still here, still living with joy and purpose. And so the book is everything I did with Mom for the next 9 years. I wrote notes every time I came home, because she lived in an assisted living facility, a good one, which most people can't afford in this country, which is another story. And I wrote everything down. So the book is everything we did together, all the lessons I learned, and everything is illustrated by Mom's art, which is pretty amazing stuff. Because I don't paint myself. I'm very intimidated by it, but Mother just flowed from her hand to the paper. And so it was because of the art that I met Richard Ferry. And Richard Ferry is this incredible man who formed Maude's Awards for innovation in Alzheimer's care in honor of his wife, Maude. And it was because of the art, because he was so interested in the art, he wanted to meet me. And that led to me becoming the executive director of Maude's Awards. So that it's, speaking of, one thing leads to another, it was this incredible journey with Mom, and it continues with this incredible journey with Maude's Awards. So the book has just been published on Amazon, and Maude's Awards, we're just about to announce in mid-September the winners of our fifth year of giving away every year $100,000 for innovative programs and practices in dementia care. So that's what I do. It's a wonderful life, and I owe it all to Mother.
Wow, that's exciting. Your book sounds wonderful. It's with both you and Denise, with what you pulled together, they both sound fascinating and will just help both families and professionals on so many levels. For you and for getting the book, do you want them just to go to Amazon, or do you have a website as well?
Don'tWalkAway.net, that they can go to Amazon and search for Don't Walk Away, A Care Partner's Journey. And it's important to add A Care Partner's Journey because I discovered there are lots and lots of books called Don't Walk Away. Who knew? And then if you go to Marilyn at maudesawards.org, you'll reach me and I will answer all your questions.
So let's go to you, Ken. What's new with you? I was privileged enough to meet with you when I was out speaking one time in California and got to hear your family story, and you've been on the show, but we have different listeners all the time. So why don't you give a little more background into what's going on right now?
It's so great to see you. Yeah, and meet all of you. Yeah, absolutely. I know it was so great to cross paths with you at that conference. Absolutely. You've been always just so gracious and supportive, and I just can't thank you enough. So like I kind of mentioned at the top of the discussion, my mother was hit with early onset dementia / Alzheimer's when she was 63. Single mom, raised my brother and I on her own. She was the teacher and a guidance counselor in Riverside, California. And really, I kind of feel like my brother and I were kind of the tip of the spear with this whole sandwich generation term you hear, because, this is going back 14 years now, right? And we had never heard anything like that back then. And so basically my brother and I, we were just really lucky. We have just such a strong supportive network and circle of friends and family. We're trying to figure out how to navigate caring for our mother. And there was a series of, hoops you have to jump through, right? You go to, assisted living type place, and they say they can help. And then 4 months later, they're calling you saying, she's a little too much for us. You got to find something else. Just a series of, it was kind of like a beautiful journey, right? I mean, it was really, really tough. And I'm just very fortunate. My brother and I are so close, and my wife, Andrea, and I, Andrea is just amazing and so supportive as well. And, long story short is, my mother passed away, May 14th, 2023. So just, a little over a year ago. In her honor, we launched a college memorial scholarship fund, and you can find it if you just Google Linda K. Monroe Whelan Scholarship. It'll come right up. In fact, I double checked it before hopping on the call. And the team at bold.org has really helped manage it and manage all the funds, and it's just been such a tremendous resource for us. But it's just been really powerful to see, not only at my mother's memorial service and celebration of life, all of her former students and colleagues that showed up, but even the direct messages I get on platforms like LinkedIn from former students, because my mother worked in really a challenged area of the community of Riverside in the district, and really helped in some families, first generation, some of our students go to college. And some of the direct messages that I've received is, hey, I would have never even thought of going to college if it weren't for your mom. She helped me get into Cal. I'm this really powerful attorney in Century City now. How can I help? And she was such an inspiration. And the fundraising's been amazing. We've raised enough funds to award the scholarship through 2031. And we're fundraising now for 2032. And if you just go to Linda K. Monroe Whelan Memorial Education Scholarship, it'll take you to the Bold website if you want to make a donation or read about it. And a criteria for winning, being awarded the scholarship is, like our mother, my mom was very into doing community service and giving back and helping others. So you have to be a graduating high school senior that has your sights set on going to college, and you have to have done community service. We had 248 applications this year, which is pretty amazing for a first-year scholarship. And we just awarded it on May 14th, and it'll always be awarded on May 14th going forward every year. It went to a young girl from graduating senior, Ladera Ranch, California. Her name's Hannah. She did not have it easy. Her essay was very powerful. At one point, her and her mother were even living out of their car. The alignment in the causes that Hannah volunteered for, like feeding people in need and less fortunate at her church, as well as like adopting families during the holiday season to help them with gifts and clothing, were things, ironically, that my mother supported and was really involved with. So her essay really spoke to us. It was just really, really powerful. Hannah has her sights set now on going to medical school. And so I don't know, like I've been able, it doesn't usually affect me like this. I don't know why, but yeah. So as Lori knows, I've been trying to turn wounds into wisdom. And just carry on my mom's legacy. And yeah, the scholarship has just been such a way to do that. And yeah, and just, I don't know, I feel so blessed, right, to just have so many great friends and family that like have just rallied and supported the scholarship and our mother. And I mean, as recent as last night, I was getting direct messages till 9 o'clock last night about people saying, you know, like, I know this person here and he worked with your mom at La Sierra High School. I'm gonna let him know about the scholarship. And just I don't know, we're all connected, right? And it's just been it's just, you know, while there were peaks and valleys, right, with caring for my mom, like it really was a beautiful journey, and like I would never ever change it. And I'm just grateful for like every moment. And I also want to give a shout out to Ulysses Cleophas, like my mom's caregiver, who just was like with my mom by her side the last 7 years of her life. And you know, like my brother Colin and I always call Seth our little brother, and like we're still connected, you know, like Seth, we got together on Mother's Day with him, and like we'll forever be connected, and he's amazing. And it's been really powerful to see his journey too, because now he's a really like in demand private caregiver, and he's just doing so well. And he's with another family in Newport Beach, because like the last 7 years of my mother's life, she retired in Newport Beach and lived out her days there. And she always loved being in nature and like the ocean and everything. So we just kind of did all we could to make sure that happened for her. And gosh, I hope I'm not rambling too much. So, but really, you know, it's funny, like, I guess it's just, I'm not, you guys are just so like amazing and have accomplished so many things. I guess maybe I'm just kind of, I haven't written a book yet or anything like that. So, but maybe I'm getting some tailwinds, and maybe the start is the scholarship, right? And just continuing to carry on my mom's legacy that way, and, you know, help other, you know, kids that really need help. So that my mom was all about doing and supporting. So I will shut up now.
No, you know, it's a lot of times people, you know, feel embarrassed when they get emotional. I still get emotional. You know, my mom lived with the disease for 30 years. She's been gone for 10. And I never know how I'm going to react. And it's perfectly fine, because this is, well, life in general is an emotional journey. But, you know, you add dementia into the quick, and you really have a lot of highs and lows. And, you know, part of probably what you're feeling is, I'm hoping you're feeling is a sense of accomplishment of what your mom's journey has brought to the world through you and your brother, and how people are coming together and collaboration to help someone else out to honor your mom, because that was your mom at her core. And that's a pretty cool thing to see happen. I'm going to get emotional thinking about it, but it's a very cool thing. And that's one of the things I hear about this dementia community from people is, I mean, people like, oh, I had no idea. People were so supportive and so loving and so compassionate, and allowed me to be me through this journey, and accepted, you know, my words of wisdom or my words of wackiness or whatever mode I'm in, depending on where things are at. And, you know, we don't always have that in our life. And right now the world is a pretty wacky place to live in. And so when you find that safe community, and you know, feel connected and on target and full of pride and full of love, you know, it's normal to get emotional. And I personally think that we need to create more spaces to allow people to feel those emotions, because I think when we don't, that's when the loneliness really creeps in and stifles people and can do a lot of harm to them, not only emotionally, but physically as well, you know, when those stressors build up. So thank you for, you know, taking this journey on with your mom and going there's got to be a lesson in this. How are we going to prove
Right.
it to the next guy? Your accomplishments are big, and they're meaningful, and they're powerful, and they're getting others excited. And that's amazing, Ken. So thank you for sharing that with us. And you had given us the website, Linda K. Monroe, Whalen.com, where they can go and donate. Is that
Well,
correct?
yeah, you just Google Linda K. Monroe Whelan Scholarship, and it'll come right up. It's first, through Google. And yeah, and it's funny, Lori, to that too. Like, if you don't mind me saying too, that like my brother and I have almost kind of become this resource too for friends, right? Because our mom's so early, and she passed 3 days after she turned 76. That now, friends of ours that have loved ones approaching, like, say, their 80s, right, are calling me or Colin and saying, hey, do you know any caregivers? Do you know a good doctor? My mother or father is starting to present this way. And yeah, we've become this kind of resource, and that's been really powerful too, I feel like. And, like I said, kind of turning wounds into wisdom, I think.
So that's wonderful. And I think, word of mouth is the best way to connect people, because you're getting, basically a personal reference from somebody as well, versus just going out to Google and you're getting some guidance and you feel like they've kind of been there, done that. Now, you had mentioned the May 14th date. What's the meaning behind that? Was that a birthday or a special day to the family that was picked, or it just happened to be when you gave this award away and you're going to hold to it going forward?
May 14th, 2023 was the day our mother passed away.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the significance. Our mother was born May 11th, 1947. So, yeah, 3 days after she turned 76, and it was actually in 2023, that was actually Mother's Day. At 11:11 a.m., yeah, she passed away on the 14th. So, this year was the first year awarding it on May 14th. And going forward, it'll be May 14th, hopefully for a long, long time. So,
Oh, cool.
yeah.
But I always think of 11:11. It always reminds me of angel wings. I don't know why, but since I've been little, and when I see 11:11, I always think of angel wings.
My mom would say that too. Yeah, she'd say like make a wish and stuff too, like, yeah.
Thank
But so
you.
nice to connect with you all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ken. Teresa, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're up to?
Okay. Lori, again, thank you for bringing this amazing group together. Ken, your personal story with your mom just pulls my heartstrings. As I've heard each of you speak, your personal stories, I think that's how we can really make a difference in so many others' lives, is having our personal story. If you're going through something that I've never gone through, how can you really help me? So I'm just, like I said, my heartstrings are being pulled by all of you and hearing all your beautiful individual stories. And I just see you all making such a difference with so many lives. As an ED in assisted living with a memory care unit, most people will call and they've never dealt with memory issues before. You'd think by now it's been discovered how many years ago by Dr. Alzheimer's. But and then President Reagan, I thought he would kind of make this not a bad word. It's okay to talk about Alzheimer's, but they still don't understand, if they haven't dealt with it personally, how to deal with this cruel disease. It's the biggest thief in the world. Nothing could be worse than a disease still in your brain. And for loved ones to sit by and want to help, but not really knowing how to, I think that's something, I think that God has put this on our table to make a difference in so many people's lives. And like you all, I'm so hungry to be used as God's instrument to help other people. Personal side for me, 25, 26 years ago, my grandfather, he had Alzheimer's. Now, back then, it was like hardening of the arteries. My mother and her brothers didn't want to say Alzheimer's. No, we don't think, it's such a bad hardening of the arteries. But it was Alzheimer's. It was Alzheimer's. My grandmother, I shared with Lori yesterday when we got to speak, was 12 years younger than my grandfather. So she literally, the last 10 years of her life, wore herself out trying to take care of him at home alone. How many people, how many caregivers are home alone, do not have funds to be able to reach out to get help and save an assisted living? Unless someone is a veteran or they have long-term care insurance, it's really not affordable. So many people are home alone dealing with this cruel disease. Lori, again, so much of what you shared with me yesterday has just really made a difference in my outlook in so many ways. But every community does need an adult daycare for their loved ones struggling with dementia and Alzheimer's. I hope that you all have a daycare in your community. Unfortunately, we don't. And I'm not sure we have senior centers, but that's not a place to safely park your loved one and know they're in good hands. It's a secured environment, so they're not going to be an elopement risk, and they're doing meaningful activities, maybe Montessori activities. There's no place like that around here. I live in Calhoun, Georgia. It's between Atlanta and Chattanooga off of 75. But there's so much more, y'all, we've got to get together to establish to help future family members and future victims with Alzheimer's. So I'm hungry to help. I've recently put together a webpage, and my company's called Forget Me Not Associates, Knowledge in Dementia. And I just think knowledge as education is powerful. If we've never dealt with this before, where do you go? Thank God, Lori, thank you that you look at what you've done. You've blazed a trail. But we got to follow behind her and make this trail wider. Because the average person that calls me interested in information on their loved one to move into the assisted living they'll say, well, they may have a little dementia. Doctor said maybe a little dementia. Our healthcare facilities never use a diagnosis of Alzheimer's. It's always could be a little dementia. And I feel like you all are like I am. I can smell it like a hound dog. You just know it. And you want to jump in there and do everything you can to make this caregiver, this precious victim of the disease, feel like they still matter, and there are ways to find bright, happy activities daily.
So, question for you, Teresa. So, are you doing consulting work, or are you doing training work, or are you doing a little bit of everything?
A little bit of everything. I've always wanted, even if someone called at work, whether they had the funds or not to be an assisted living, it's always heavy on my heart to be a resource to help them. So yeah, just, they say, oh gosh, what do you charge? We charge this. Well, I still want to be a resource to help them. Had a, sweet lady call me yesterday, just dealing with some things that are going on with her daddy and trying, he wants to go back home, which is up north from 7 hours south of her home. And she wants to make him feel better, like you're going to, we'd love for you to go home someday, but Daddy, you've got Alzheimer's and you're not ever going back home. And I'm like, oh no, don't say that. We've all got to have a reason to feel like, hey, I still can go back home someday. I'm visiting my daughter. We're having a little vacation, but hey, maybe I still can go back someday. So it's a blessing when we feel like we can make a difference in somebody's life. What's more important, really? What's more important than feeling like we can make a difference in somebody's life that's struggling and in severe pain?
So I know with my mom, they lived up at the lake, and so she wanted to go to the lake a lot, and we would bring her up there, a ton. But she couldn't live there independently anymore. Mm-hmm. So there's ways to sometimes be able to visit. Sometimes that they can't go home per se, but again, it's about how we're making them feel in the moment, and will they remember is it more of a diversion type thing? There's all kinds of different techniques. I had one gentleman, and he was so cute, and I love this story. His wife would say, "Well, it's time to go now," and she always thought their home, even though they had lived there for years, was wasn't her home because she was visualizing her childhood home. Mm-hmm. And so he said, I fought the fiblet thing. I fought the, small light white lies. He's like, I just did not want to engage with that. I didn't feel that it was right. And mm-hmm. then he said, I was at my wit's end and I didn't know how to bring her comfort. So he said, I packed up a bag and I just have it by the door and we walk out the house. And we talk about we're going to go to that home. We go for a drive. We come back home. I roll that suitcase back in. I place it by the door till we need it next time. But she was comfortable. She was calm. It was diverted. They would, go get an ice cream cone or go to the grocery store or out to eat. Mm-hmm. But it was in the moment. Her parents were long past, and I'm not even sure if the house still existed. If I remember correctly, the house didn't even exist anymore in the small town that she lived in. But it was about making her feel comfortable and confident and safe in that moment. And there's lots of different ways and different approaches that people have to doing that. So now for a website, do you have a place we can direct people to, or LinkedIn, or?
Yes. It's called Forget Me Not Associates, Knowledge in Dementia.
We've got about 10 minutes left, so I just want to see if there's anything else that anyone wants to add or play off of what they heard from other people. Just raise your hand, Marilyn.
I would just like to thank number one, Ken. Your mother sounds absolutely fabulous, and I'm crying. So just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And anyway, thank you all. But I just wanted to reassure Ken, you can tell your story to me anytime.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Thank you. Denise?
Yes, I would also like to thank everybody. This was amazing, and I really enjoyed hearing everybody's story. And so I'm really happy to be here, and I'm excited to launch my nonprofit. We're getting ready to have a workshop in October out here where I live in Thousand Oaks, and we have connected with Cal State Channel Island as a partner, and they're helping us to develop a volunteer training platform, which was a difficult thing for us when we were trying to train volunteers to help us with the program. So this is an online platform that they can go on, and it would be like where they would take the class, and then they can't move on to the next section until they have completed or passed the first part of the program. So again, I'm very happy to be here, and I want to thank everybody. I enjoyed all the stories, and I wish everybody the best.
And you too.
Thank you. Thank you. I love that you talked about volunteers, because that is so needed. And I think during COVID, a lot of people kind of got into that whole realm of wanting to volunteer, and then businesses did not tap into that. And so I still see people kind of floating around going, I'd like to do something, but I don't know how, I don't know where. And then I see communities wanting to do something, but they're like, we don't have the staff to be able to manage this. So anything that can help that come together, I think, is massively huge, and will be really helpful, because there's so many people that do want to step in but don't know how, and they need some guidance, and training is always good for all sides on that. And so thank you for mentioning that. Ken, anything else you'd like to say?
No, I think just to add to that, my mom always had really inspiring quotes that she would share with my brother and I and her students. And to your point there, one of the things my mom would always say is like, the universe rewards action, right? So that's kind of a segue with kind of what you were just saying there for volunteers and looking to navigate. Go get it, and our family mantra through my mom's journey too, that actually Ulysses thought of, that we've adopted, is be unstoppable. So it's just been so wonderful to meet all of you today and to connect. And I'm always here if anyone needs anything. And be unstoppable. Have a great, strong week. And just thank you so much. And Lori, always thank you. You're awesome.
Well, thank you. I learn every time
That's
I do
awesome.
one of these, so.
Yes, I just have one last thing, which is in speaking what everybody said, that I am hoping before to say that caregivers, I'm hoping to reach that huge number of people who do not believe that a life with dementia is worth living, that it is possible to live with joy if we give people, caregivers and people living with dementia, the support they need to thrive and live with happiness. It is possible.
Yeah, I agree. And I think for so long we have been told that it's not possible. We've been, oftentimes told to walk away, that it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
They don't remember you. So what's the point? You don't have to go visit.
What's the point?
And I remember doing a show. We did a 2-hour special on life with dementia, and it was about end of life and should people have the right to take their own life or not. And we had a little bit of everybody on, and we had people that believed in that concept and others that didn't. And at the very end, some minds were changed in terms of how they looked at it. And even if they disagreed, they could honor the situation and the belief of another, which I thought was amazing. But at the very end, they asked me, Lori, what do you think? And I said, I'm a girl who likes my choices. So I will always grab any of the choices that are there. I love to learn. I want to know what's available to me. And I said, but I can honestly say, in a 30-year journey with my mom, which most people's jaws drop going, it can't be that long. I mean, that's the response I typically get. I wouldn't have given up 1 second because I learned so much. And I truly, to this day, say it's the biggest gift I'll ever receive in my whole entire life. And you don't know that until you're in it and until you give it an opportunity to really be present. If I was just going through doing tasks and letting the relationship fall apart, I wouldn't have felt that beauty. I wouldn't have seen that beauty. I wouldn't have been able to create that beauty. But when you stay in relationship, to me, that's the shift changer right there. So I personally believe, one of my greatest missions is to change people's mindsets to a heart set and look at what's possible. Instead of looking at things as what people aren't able to do, let's focus on what they are able to do, and how do we tweak that? Because realistically, that's how we all live our lives. Something doesn't go quite right in our own life, way before dementia. We tweak it to get to where we want to go. We bend it, we shaped it, we're kind of shapeshifters, in that, in terms of how we look at, gaining our goal. And when we make our relationships a priority, it's pretty amazing how deep they can be instead of just superficial. And it's those little things where most people would look at, well, you're really not communicating, where I'm like, oh my gosh, we are communicating on a different level that you just haven't learned yet, but it's available to all of us. And to me, those are the really powerful moments that I think, and I might be misspeaking, but I think everyone here has experienced those moments, and they're life changing. And you can take those lessons and apply them in so many different ways in your life. It's not just a dementia specific skill that you're learning, or insight or belief. It changes all of your life, I think, when this hits. So thank you. Teresa, anything else that you would like to add?
Again, Lori, I just want to thank you for all that you're doing and thank all of you. I feel very honored to participate with you all today.
Wonderful. Well, as always, to our audience, I always say, please step in and be a giver of hope. Join Alzheimer's Speaks spread the word. It doesn't cost you any money. It takes very little time. Like, click, and share. You don't know who's in your sphere of influence that needs this information, because we haven't made the world a comfortable enough space for people to say what they need. And so we need to be able to just push it out there in a non-judgmental way and go, been there, done that. Know this information before you need it. It makes the journey a lot easier than, grabbing for it when you're in crisis. And we all pretty much know that's a good rule of thumb in life. But when something is pitched to us as being so uncomfortable for so long, we're scared to step into that space. And it's nice to see the barriers being broken and people stepping out and sharing their stories, because it really takes the scary out of the scenario so much. So thank you all for what you do. Again, we will have in the show notes their links to their websites, and please feel free to check them out. Like, click, and share each and every one of them. And don't be shy about spreading the word about information. It's a powerful tool for all of us. Thanks, everyone. Bye now.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you, Lori.
Bye. Thank you.
It's time to rethink, renew, and reimagine retirement. Hey everybody, Jared Sylvester here, host of Retire Repurposed. Now, this podcast is about the non-financial parts of retirement, which many times can be even more challenging than the financial. We believe retirement is not the end, rather the beginning of what could be the most impactful, purposeful, and fulfilling season of a person's life. So don't retire, become repurposed. To listen now, search Retire Repurposed on your favorite podcast platform, Senior Resource, or Life Audio.